in Safari. Okay. It is preparing the stream. As soon as I get confirmation that the stream is happening, I will get things going. Done redirecting to YouTube. And I almost see myself. In Safari. Okay, you all got to hear me singing. That's exciting, I'm sure. As soon as I get confirmation that the stream is happening, I will get things going. Done redirecting to YouTube. And okay, so it looks like we are broadcasting to YouTube as well, which is terrific. Okay, so that's right, we need to record. We are recording and we are streaming to YouTube now. So perfect. Okay, so I'd like to welcome those of you who are here in person to my RevitaMind Change the Way You Think About Cognitive Decline presentation. I'm putting a chat, a little sticky note. It can't be sticky, unfortunately, because this is Zoom, but I'll read it for you just in case you're on a phone and you have a hard time with the small lettering. Hi, this is Maury Zelkovich, and I just wanted to let you know that I'll be answering your questions and comments as I see them coming in. So be sure to use the be sure to use Zoom's raise your hand feature in the reactions area. And when you do that, it'll let me know that you have a question in the chat. It doesn't mean you get to talk unless you want to, but I just want to be able to answer your questions as they come in because I respect you and I don't want you waiting. By raising your hand, a little chime will go off on my end and it'll let me know that you're here and you want something answered. Be sure to type them out in the chat area provided so I can honor you by not making you wait. If you need me, you can always email me at the.maury.method@gmail.com. That's in the chat, so I don't need to spell it out for you. Or you can call me after the webinar, of course, because this is live, at 1-416-876-7939. between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, I can't thank you enough for being here. I hope that you'll get a lot of information that most people don't know, unfortunately, and everybody should know about your mind, your brain, and how they work together to create your reality in many ways. So you should know that we will be discussing a little bit about my product, RevitaMind and RevitaMind Ultra, which allows people the most effortless way to help support their cognitive function, improve memory, and enhance the quality of life. A little bit about me first. Let me just see here. Yeah, okay, so I went through 40 years of my life, the first 40 years that I'm aware of, depressed, injury prone like crazy, with voices, thousands of them in my head all the time, confusion, addiction. I was hopeless. And of course, lonely because, you know, when you feel the way I felt, especially for that long, you don't feel human. You don't feel like you're part of the world. You just don't feel anything that's any good. Just horrible. There has been a message. Let's see here. Oh, I won't say names, by the way, when I see messages. So if you want to ask something personal, I will answer it to everybody, but I will not mention your name. So yes, this will be, this is going to be recorded. It is being recorded. If you look at the top of your screen, you'll see a little red dot blinking away. So I hope that helps. Okay, so loneliness, hopelessness, confusion, addiction. Yeah, I was pretty addicted too. I was addicted to marijuana. I'd smoke about 20, 25 joints a day, most of them by myself. If I could find someone to smoke with, I would, but for the most part, it was totally by myself. Injuries included concussions and cracked ribs and slipped discs and broken noses. I say noses, not because I have more than one nose, but because I had more than one break. Thousands and thousands of voices in my head. Imagine that you're in a concert and you're being, you know, it's the intermission, or you're at a sporting event at the between periods or quarters, and all of a sudden everybody starts talking, approximately that kind of volume and that kind of effect 24/7. Mind you, I didn't know, I was unaware of it while I was sleeping, but as soon as I would wake up, as soon as I'd be conscious, I'd hear the voices. The injuries were just crazy. I remember getting yelled at by my parents one day because they came home and they saw me in an air cast. I was waiting for the ambulance to pick me up. There had been a paramedic there helping me, but they were just in a car. So I was waiting for the ambulance, and my parents came in, and all they did was they like threw their arms up in the air. They kind of said, "What the hell did you do now?" And like my legs in a cast. So what can I tell you? It was pretty nuts, pretty wild. But then I started doing something that I had never done before. I realized that I had been researching because, when you're depressed, let me rephrase that because I can't speak for other people. When I was depressed and when I was feeling down and when I had, poor cognition because, I was concentrating on my pain and my emotional pain and my physical pain all the time, I wasn't really paying attention to reality as it was around me. Instead, I was creating it as something horrible and terrible. But somehow through all of that, I started thinking. I don't know how I started thinking, but I did. And I started saying to myself, what is going on? Why is it going on? Maybe if I can understand that, I can get through it. Now, understand that through all these years of depression and sadness and hate and spite and all these things, there were multiple suicide attempts as well. But the interesting thing is, if I really wanted to die, one should have been enough, and it wasn't. So I had to think that, well, if I can't find a way to die, I have to find a way to live. And that's really what gave birth to RevitaMind. I had created a website with one of my clients, believe it or not, because he thought that it was time I had something available that was in the normal world as opposed to the self-improvement world. A lot of people have in their mind the idea that self-improvement is woo-woo. And for those of you who don't know what woo-woo is, of course, magic, silliness, makes no sense. But desperate people go for anything. So, woo-woo has its place, right? Basically, what happened was we created a site and we created some programs. Well, I created the programs, he created the site. And one of those programs that I created was called RevitaMind. And that was some years ago, actually, that I created RevitaMind. And then of course, you create something, you want to get it out there. So I was contacting doctors and clinicians and universities and, all these different areas, trying to find out if they'd be interested in doing some testing, checking it out, seeing, will this work? Does this work? Of course, nobody got back to me. And RevitaMind ended up gathering cyber dust, or what I call cyber dust, on the hard drive, going nowhere, doing nothing. But for some reason, I left the website up. Now, I wasn't getting any sales, so it wasn't because I was getting an occasional sale, but I left it up. And then one day, I got a phone call from a woman who asked me for a refund of RevitaMind. And I kind of was wondering what's going on here. I didn't even know I made a sale. Well, she told me that, she wanted a refund because my product was available on this website by this doctor, Dale Bredesen. And I said, isn't that interesting? So I asked her to help me contact him, and I ended up talking with his CEO. And it turned out there was a misunderstanding. The webmaster, the guy who created the website, gave them permission to use my product for free and give it away for free on their website. That wasn't really allowed because I was never asked. So it was kind of It wasn't stealing because they were given permission. They were just given permission by someone who didn't have the right to give permission. So we ended up talking, and the long and the short of it is Dr. Bredesen and I came to agreement, and now my work is available on his website to purchase for his patients and clients. And I asked this woman, of course, like I kind of jumped ahead a little, but I asked this woman, well, how did you hear about me? How did you get my work? And she said, because I read the New York Times bestselling book, The End of Alzheimer's, the first program to prevent and reverse cognitive decline. And I strongly suggest if any of you are suffering from any form of this or know someone who is, this book is amazing. Especially, I believe it's chapter 3, which might be called How to Get Alzheimer's. You might be surprised, in our culture, we're so used to taking things and doing things to heal from illness, not realizing that oftentimes much of what we do might be responsible for bringing on that illness. So actually stopping things might be your best medicine in some cases. Now, please keep in mind, this is my opinion. I'm not a doctor, and I'm certainly not your doctor. So anything you hear during this presentation, you should take with a grain of salt, so to speak. Of course, I don't want you to get high blood pressure, so that's a figurative term. Okay, it's not really take it with salt. At any rate, it turns out that the doctor mentioned what the main program in the RevitaMind system called Neural Agility 3 times. And it turned out that people were doing searches on Google for Neural Agility and purchasing it as a result of that. So it's really kind of interesting how things can happen in the universe. How and why it works. Now, there's quite a bit of science involved. I'm not going to bore you with it entirely, but I do want you to know what's going on and why it goes on. I'm not a believer in keeping people in the dark so they can be impressed with my brilliance. Frankly, I think we're all brilliant. And even if there's things I talk about today that you think, oh, wow, I never realized this. Oh, wow, Maury's so smart. I guarantee you there is lots that you know that I don't have a clue about. So never put anyone on a pedestal thinking they're better or they're smarter or they're this or they're that, or because everybody is here for a reason and everybody's here for a good reason. And you should never put yourself in a position where you think someone is better than you, because nobody is better than anybody. Einstein even said there's no such thing as brilliance or genius, only the ability to see something others don't see. And we all have that ability. So don't ever for a moment put anyone on a pedestal thinking they're better than you because maybe they have more money or they have a nicer car or they own a bigger house or whatever. None of that matters in life. None of that makes any difference at all. Today, we're not talking about me. We're not even talking about you. We're talking about ways for you to make your life better. So the first thing, and one of the things that I want you to know is I believe if people understand something, A, they don't have to remember it, and B, it takes away the fear. It takes away the woo-woo. It takes away the magic. So the first question I normally get is, Maury, you say you're the world's only, first and only brainwave entrainment engineer. That sounds pretty impressive, except I have no idea what a brainwave entrainment engineer is or what they do, or even what brainwave entrainment is. Something that's kind of funny is I get interviewed quite a bit, and I cannot tell you how many times people will introduce me as the world's first and only brainwave entertainment engineer. Because when you look at the word entrainment there, isn't the first word that pops into your head entertainment? This is how the mind works. It looks for something it can be related to, and it goes for it. Now, they're not being silly and they're not being stupid and they're not being anything. It's just a natural process that the brain does. It's unfamiliar with the term entrainment, so it relates it to a word that they are familiar with, which is entertainment. At any rate, I will read the so-called scholarly description and then give you a translation into English so it makes more sense for you. But I'm giving you the so-called scholarly translation first because some of you might find that interesting. And it does go to credibility, because a lot of people think entrainment is woo-woo. And these are people who just haven't, bothered to take the time to learn, to do a little research, which is fine, because not everybody has the desire like I do to learn and understand these things. But you're here, so you want to know. Entrainment is a principle of physics. It is defined as the synchronization of two or more rhythmic cycles. So let's stop right there. Actually, let's go a little bit further. The principle of entrainment appears in chemistry, neurology, biology, pharmacology, medicine, and more. And here's where some English comes in. While working on the design of the pendulum clock, so many of you may not be aware of a pendulum clock, but a pendulum clock has this little stick with a ball on the bottom usually, or a disc, and it goes back and forth, back and forth. So this guy, Christian Huygens, back in the 1600s, went out for lunch. But first, he hung up a bunch of cuckoo clocks because he's a clockmaker, and it has all these pendulums. And when he came back, he saw that they were all synchronized. All the pendulums were doing the same motion in unison. So that's what entrainment is. It's two things that are different becoming similar in their motion. In fact, the synchronization was so precise that not even mechanical intervention, so using machinery or math or anything, could calibrate these pendulums more accurately. More recently, audio entrainment, which is primarily what I do, has gained recognition and awareness through Mozart's classical music. The concept of, some of you may have heard of something called the Mozart effect, which was described by a French researcher by the name of Alfred A. Tomatis in his 1991 book, Pourquoi Mozart, which of course just means why Mozart in French. And he used the music of Mozart in his efforts to retrain the ear. And he believed that listening to the music presented at altering frequencies or differing frequencies could help the ear and promoted healing and the development of the brain. So basically, entrainment is a process that is fully natural, that allows your neurons, which are your brain cells, to act like these little pendulums and behave and start working in unison. When they work in unison, all kinds of amazing things happen. So let's get into some of that. First, though, we need to understand what brainwaves are. So what exactly are brainwaves? Well, brainwaves are produced as the billions of neurons in our brains transmit something called action potentials or electricity down their axons. Axons you can think of as kind of like roots. Well, maybe the stalk or the stem, to the synapses, which might be considered the roots, where they trigger the release of neurochemicals, things like neurotransmitters, endorphins, and hormones. These action potentials, these little electric pulses that the neurons make, are passed down from neuron to neuron, and the neurons start pulling the same thing, and they start acting together. Now, you've probably seen pictures of people with these little sensors on their heads. By placing sensors on the scalp through the use of an electroencephalograph, which is an EEG machine, it basically reads the surface layer of your brain's potential, what brain states are occurring. Researchers can detect not individual firings of neurons because they're too small, but the sum total of this electrical activity. That's called brainwaves. And brainwaves, you know them as alpha, beta, theta, gamma, these kinds of things. Now, these words are simply words. They don't mean anything except how many times the neuron is pulsing that electric pulse per second. And that's important because depending on how many times the neuron is pulsing and the region of the brain it's pulsing in, that dictates the kind of chemistry that's released. And you can think of brain chemistry in terms of a recipe. So if you are a great chef and I am a lousy chef, because for 40 years plus I was a lousy chef, my brain was creating chemistry that tasted lousy. It was like a bad meal. It was not good for me, and it was horrible tasting, and it was just terrible. My life tasted like crap. But you, let's say, are a great chef. So you take the same ingredients and you make something delicious, something nutritious, something good for you. That's the difference between brainwaves that are helping and brainwaves that aren't helping. So brainwave entrainment allows us to manipulate brainwave activity so that we can help adjust on a subtle level the neurochemistry. And in the end, it's the neurochemistry that actually creates your experience. You literally could be slapped in the face, your head can move over to the side, it can bounce back. But if your brain does not create through the sensory input neurochemistry that translates to that effect, yes, your head will move, yes, it'll bounce back, but you will not know. You will not be aware of it. You're all looking at computers or phones right now. On your screen is the result of zeros and ones. That's all it is. It's a combination of a bunch of zeros and ones that the screen is translating into images and color and audio. That's all it is. But your observation of these zeros and ones, of these colors, of these images, of these audio, noises or sounds or vibrations, that perception is all neurochemical. And if we could do a recording of my voice, not from our phones, but from our brains, stick a little SD card in the left ear and in the right ear, press record, then all of us would have a slightly different recording. And that denotes the differences between how our brains interpret the vibration, the energy, the zeros, the ones. So hopefully that helps you to get a better understanding as to how and why your brain does what it does. And again, I know this might be a little dry for people, but I think it's really, really important that you understand why and how. When you understand why and how, it takes away fear, it takes away trepidation, and it gives you power. And that's the real purpose of this. So the real question is, now that we know a little bit about brainwave activity and what it does and why it does it, the question is, do we get the most out of our brainwaves? Do we get the most out of this? So one of the problems with modern society is that we tend to live in a continually stressed out state. I think we all can relate to that. Most people tend to rush around. We think too much, we multitask, which is a funny term because no one actually multitasks. You do one thing for a few seconds, then you do another thing for a few seconds, then you do another thing for a few seconds. No one actually does 15 things all at the same time. Your brain does, but you personally do not. We have all these stressful thoughts. At the other end of the spectrum, some people hardly use their minds, their brains at all. They hardly challenge themselves. Unfortunately, most people have very little natural control over their dominant brainwave state because of everything that's going on around them. And because they can't easily access the significant benefits provided by a more natural functioning that we were designed for. This is why we tend to have a lot of people on a lot of meds. And North America, for instance, is I think the most medicated for psychological issues society of any society on this planet that we've found anyway. Properly engineered brainwave technology, however, the kind of thing the Mori method does, and the kind of thing that is very prevalent in RevitaMind and RevitaMind Ultra, can influence your brainwaves by providing an audio stimulus that, so long as the necessary conditions are met, in other words, you're listening properly, you're using it regularly and consistently, it can help to guide your dominant brainwave state to a desired frequency. Now, this is significant as the right audio technology can help to positively influence your function and help you to achieve beneficial states, such as deep relaxation, enhanced memory, mental performance, even increased energy, focus, and motivation. Now, I'm going to put a little sticky in the chat. I'm going to kind of interrupt myself for a second here before we continue our lesson, students. And I'm going to put my information in the chat again so that you all know that you're welcome to ask me questions or comments if any pop up during this. I don't think it's really fair when most presenters give their presentation and don't take questions right away, because they're not really honoring you. You're kind of like a captive audience. You have to do what I tell you because I'm the expert. Nah, 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 nah. I don't really like that. So I adopted a different way. I will open up for a Q&A afterwards, but usually my Q&As last about 4 seconds because I ask you to ask your question when you're inspired to ask your question. So feel free to type anything in the chat that you want to know about. Keep in mind, though, that this is about RevitaMind, this is about the Mori method, brainwave technology, or about me personally. I will not answer any questions on things I'm not qualified to, like, for instance, the products and or services of other people. So, moving on. The question is, what happens to your brain now when you're listening? Because now we've told you about kind of how the brain works, how it's influenced by sound and sometimes visual stimulation patterns. And now we want to know what happens actually to your brain when you're exposed to this technology. So when the brain receives an audio stimulus, a beat as an example, ba, 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 through the ears and auditory pathways, it emits an electrical charge in response. This is called the cortical evoked response. Basically, it's a reaction. Nice scientific term to make people impressed, but all it is a reaction. It's like I slap my arm, I feel that. That's basically what we're talking about here. These electrical responses are then processed through the brain and become what you hear. So in reality, you don't actually hear anything. No one hears anything. No one has heard anything. You're not hearing me now. If you put your hand over the speakers on your phone that you're listening from, or on your computer, if you know where your speakers are, you'll feel vibration. That's what my voice is creating, vibration. Your brain is interpreting that vibration. So when the stimulus is within a certain range, the brain tends to synchronize to that stimulus, much like the pendulums that we were talking about earlier. And that can help you to create various dominant states of mind. For example, deep relaxation, heightened wakefulness. The tendency of the brain to tune in and match to an external stimulus, the bon, 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 is a phenomenon known as the frequency following response. And your brain never gets used to these recordings. It never gets used to that response, no matter how much you experience it. Now, the frequency following response is kind of like a monkey see, monkey do. So again, frequency following response sounds very sciencey, but again, if you've ever listened to music you like and you find yourself bopping your head mindlessly or tapping your toes, that is actually an example of a frequency following response. You're following the beat of the music, whether you realize it or not, and subconsciously or unconsciously, you're just moving to the music. It's a natural process. Everybody has experienced it multiple times. So we're going to get a little more sciencey, and then we're going to get back to full English, I promise. So what's happening at the neurological level with your entrainment technology, with my entrainment technology? Well, that diagram kind of shows you the process. And if you want, you can look through it. I'm happy to share the PowerPoint. So if anyone wants to have the PowerPoint, all you need to do is go ahead, and I'll put the info in the chat again, is send me an email to the Mori method, so the.mori.method@gmail.com, and say, hey, Mori, can you send me the RevitaMind PowerPoint? And I will do that when I'm at my computer next, of course. I do a lot of research. My computers are running often, and I have to wait for the systems to finish before I can get back. So it might be a day or two at times. Other times it might be a second or two. So the idea here is that in order for effective entrainment to occur, a constant and repetitive stimulus, that kind of thing, of a sufficient strength needs to be presented to the brain. Through listening to my unique technology, the brain is pushed to create new neural pathways. This changes your patterns of perception and information transfer, creating new ways of experiencing your surroundings and dealing with stress. It's at this stage when the benefits of properly engineered entrainment have a genuine effect. So remember, your thoughts create brainwave activity. Your brainwave activity creates chemistry. That chemistry creates your awareness of the experience. That's how it goes. So when I talk about changing your patterns of perception and information transfer, it changes your awareness because your chemistry is subtly altering, and that alters your programming, as it were. And when your programming is altered, you perceive things differently. That's why often you might panic about something or freak out about something, and the something is still there, but 10 minutes later, you're not freaking out anymore. That's because your brain has come up with an alternate way of looking at things. That alternate way is creating different activity, which creates different chemistry. Different chemistry naturally creates a different experience. So I have a question while I'm going on here, because we're kind of done the science lesson now. If anyone would care to let me know, has this been relatively clear? Am I speaking Greek? Of course, for those of you who speak Greek, you know, this is making perfect sense. But just put a yes or no. No meaning everything's fine, you're explaining things well. And yes, I'm totally confused. Help me, help me, help me. You can just do a Y or an N if it's easier. Okay, I'm obviously putting everyone to sleep here. So, let's see. No, okay. So thank you for the feedback, Connie. I appreciate it. You know, it's important that I'm not here to impress you with big words. Thank you, Jeff. I want to make sure that everybody is aware and understands, you know. Thank you, Sam. It's so important for me to know, because this is science and this is kind of strange and it's unusual. And a lot of people, things happen and we don't ask questions. It's kind of natural. But I want people to, thank you, Monty, I appreciate that as well. I just want people to understand, because when you understand it, again, it takes away the fear and it takes away the confusion. And there's no reason in the world why you can't understand what I'm talking about, because, yeah, I was going to say it's not brain science. It is brain science, but it's easily understandable, you know, and I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to know, because when you know, you'll understand why it makes a difference instead of being afraid. I can't tell you, in the early days of my doing this technology, so many people stopped doing it when they felt effects, which is kind of strange because that's what you want, right? You want to feel effects. But people would stop doing it when they felt effects because it scared them, because they didn't understand, why am I feeling this? What is it? What is the purpose? This is scaring me. I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be excited. I want you to understand the true potential. Look, I'm not doing anything for you with my systems that is magical. I'm not giving you abilities far beyond those of mortal souls. I'm helping you to design a key that you can use to unlock your own potential, to unlock the talents and abilities you have already. But because you've been told you don't access them. So we're wiping away the cobwebs. We're finding the key that opens the door to who you really are. And that's really what this is all about. So here's something of what is special about the technology in RevitaMind. My technology only uses the most powerful monaural and isochronic tones. By the way, these are currently the most powerful. I am working on developing my own tones for entrainment as well. So far, I'm having a bit of a problem in that my tones are too powerful. So I'm working on ways to kind of cut them back a little bit. When they are ready, I will be coming out with some new products that will, and maybe adaptations to things like RevitaMind and other systems to make them even more powerful. But for now, monaural and isochronic tones are very powerful. And those are what I use. I do not use binaural beats. My tones are the cleanest you will ever listen to, and they do not have any clicks, pops, scratches, or other interfering sounds that can reduce beneficial effects. So basically what that means is that anything you hear is designed to be there, and it has a purpose. The precision I take in setting the spacing between the pulse tones and in the consistency in how I do this is unsurpassed by any other provider. As an example, I do not use software to create well, I mean, I use software, but I do not use preset software saying, give me an alpha frequency for 40 minutes. And it does it. It creates it. I create all of my systems by hand. They take time. They take intention. All of my systems are created a specific way. That's known as the Mori method. And it is not how others create their systems. I cannot tell you how many clients I have who have told me, Maury, I lost my RevitaMind system. Can you get it for me again, or do I have to buy it again? I lost it because I stopped using it for a while because I heard about so-and-so who has a system that apparently it's great, and another guy, another girl, another system, another company. And in the end, they come back. And I believe that's the reason. Because when you're actually a neuroscientist, as opposed to just being someone who sees an opportunity to make a few bucks, I think that makes a difference. I think when you put intention in something, even in something digital, it makes a difference. I think when you've gone through 40 years of hell on earth, or what you defined as hell on earth, I think that makes a difference. And people keep coming back, and that shows the difference that's being made. The precision I take in setting the spacing between the pulse tones and the consistency in their shape makes a massive difference as well. I include a specially crafted mask that's designed to enhance the entrainment effect. So what I mean by a mask is you hear in the background, shh. Now that sounds a lot like pink noise or white noise or brown noise or polka dot noise or whatever kind of noise you're used to hearing. You know, a lot of these sound conditioning machines will do that to block out external noises and distractions. Well, that's one of the purposes for that. But this particular shh is not white noise. It is a overlap of 600 distinct frequencies that, when heard all together, create that shh sound. But many of these frequencies are designed to resonate with different regions of your brain, thus hyperactivating them, so that when you hear the ba 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 entrainment tone, you're more susceptible, you get a stronger effect. I actually have people, there's something called light and sound machines, and I have many of my clients who don't use them anymore. I have 6 of them myself. The last time I used them was maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it's just for testing, because I find my audio only, which should not be stronger than light and sound, for some reason they are. And I believe they are because of the intention I put into it, because of my own science and my own techniques that I've developed as well. All of these things matter. It's not simply a matter of typing in, I want a meditation track for 30 minutes, and it produces something that, ooh, isn't this exciting? When you know what you're doing, and when you have an understanding of what you're doing, because really, there is no fact, there is no truth, there is only understanding. So with the current understanding I have, I'm able to create something different and unique, even if it may sound somewhat similar to what else might be out there. People feel the difference, and that is the important thing. I have over 40 years of experience in research, which helps to know what precise frequencies produce the greatest benefits under specific situations. I have systems. I don't have a recording for sex and a recording for growing your hair. Obviously, I don't have a recording for growing your hair. I don't have a recording for any of these things, because that's not how the brain works. It's like going to a health club and exercising your left arm, you know, with a 10-pound weight, just doing this. Well, maybe my arm's going to get stronger, but now my shoulder's going to get weaker because it has to carry extra weight from all the muscle, and the tendons and the ligaments and muscles here haven't been developed, so they can't really handle it well. My legs haven't been touched, my heart hasn't been touched, you know, all these areas are being missed out on. I design systems to deal with the holistic sense of everything. You can take comfort in knowing that when you use my recordings, when you use the Maury method work, it's going to make a difference for you, because you're making a difference for yourself. Now, if there's any questions or comments, please type them away. I'm happy to get to them. I am watching a window all the time, just in case. I want to go over some of the scientific evidence. Okay, I'm not necessarily going to read everything, but I will translate stuff I read that I think might be a little woo-woo-y for you. Okay, so various scientists at MIT have shown that stimulating neurons, your brain cells, to produce gamma waves. Gamma is a frequency that isn't as well known as beta and alpha and theta and delta, but it's faster. And it's getting more and more known, because research is showing that if you can stimulate these neurons at a frequency of 40 hertz, it might reduce the occurrence and severity of Alzheimer's symptoms. This was shown in a mouse model. Now, a lot of people go, well, that's a mouse. What about a person? Believe it or not, genetically speaking, we're not that different from a mouse. We're not even that different from a weed that grows in your grass on your lawn. Well, the researchers induced slow gamma waves using optogenics, so eyes and vibration, and they were exposing the mice to flickering light. That's all, just flashing light. And they suggested that down the road with more research, this might be something that can be useful for people. Now, this doesn't hurt people, so I've already incorporated it in my RevitaMind Ultra system. And interestingly enough, this is relatively new evidence and new science. 25 years ago, I had this idea that flickering lights and gamma wave activity might be helpful. No one listened to me because who am I, right? I'm some self-styled, self-trained scientist. Other real scientists don't even acknowledge my existence. What are you going to do? I put stuff in, if it can do no harm and it could possibly help, I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to wait 30 years to wait for somebody to, tell me, oh, Maury, that actually does work after all. If it's not going to hurt you and it might help, I'm including it from now on immediately. I'm actually working on some new things with tactile stimulation as well. So keep your radio tuned to this channel. Here's the second bit of scientific evidence. Now, there's a lot more that I'm going to go over with you, but I'm just giving it to you anyway, just so that you have an idea. So changes in gamma oscillations, again, the fast pace, 20 to 50 hertz. Hertz, by the way, well, you're going to see that a bunch, and I'll mention it, is actually the amount of times something pulses or turns on and off every second. So that would be 20 to 50 times a second. Have been observed in several neurological disorders. So the idea here is that science is saying, what is different about people who are experiencing these issues as opposed to people who are not? And one of the things they found that there have been changes in these gamma frequencies, okay, like the 40 hertz. So they're realizing that there might be a relationship between the gamma state and the pathology or what's going on with the cells. So when they found that when they allowed the neurons through audio or flickering light to be exposed to the 40 hertz, much like with brainwave entrainment, it allows the neurons to start following the same frequency. Now, 40 hertz is about the maximum range that you can get the brain to follow a frequency. That doesn't mean the brain doesn't go higher. It does. But we can only elicit a monkey see, monkey do response with 40 hertz or below. But it turned out in this particular study that this 40 hertz rate showed potential benefits. Now, if you want to know more about this evidence, again, I'm more than happy if you email me after this chat. I'm happy to send it to you. Okay. Again, I'm not going to bore you with blah, blah, blah and yada, yada, yada type science, but you can read it. You can understand it. The basic understanding here is that these frequencies are being shown to have a positive beneficial effect on cognition and even on the brain's ability to cleanse itself of what's called the beta amyloid protein, which is kind of like a cement or a clay that gets in the way. It blocks the signals. So lots of research has found that experienced meditators, so here we're talking a little more English, have significantly altered brain structure and function. These are just meditators. A growing number of studies has also found that relatively brief meditation training in novices, people like yourselves who may not be meditating at all, or may not even know how to meditate, this can also shift brain function and improve well-being and reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. The authors also say that these results may be applicable in a number of settings for kids, adults. Their findings suggest that a potential biological basis for how mindfulness and different aspects of social intelligence could be nurtured in people and the benefits that they can get. When you use any of the recordings in the RevitaMind system or RevitaMind Ultra, you are essentially meditating on steroids. You don't need to learn how. You don't need to judge yourself. Am I supposed to feel this way? You know, is this something that's natural? Blah, blah, blah. All the questioning we do. Am I supposed to feel something? Why don't I feel anything? I do feel this, but does this mean something good or something bad? I don't know. Help me, help me, help me. These recordings take all that away, because one of the side effects of properly engineered brainwave entrainment is deep, consistent meditation. And if you want to know what the benefits of meditation are, don't do a search in Google. Go to Google Scholar. So do a search for Google Scholar. And then within Google Scholar, do a search for the benefits of brainwave entrainment and the benefits of meditation. Because again, brainwave entrainment elicits a response of super powerful, almost on steroid meditation levels. I have a question here. I have purchased and been using RevitaMind Ultra. Is this different? This is the same system. Okay, so don't buy it again if you already have it. I haven't been using it as frequently. I want to get guidance about how often I need to use it. Okay, there are instructions in the manual. For best results, you're going to need to listen regularly and consistently. That's at least once a day. You heard me, at least once a day. Now, as part of your purchase before and as part of your purchase now, I'm going to make myself available to you all. So you have my information in your chat. All you need to do is email me and say, hey, Maury, can you send me your calendar link? And I will send you my calendar link and we can set up something. And I'm more than happy to help you come up with a specific methodology and listening routine that you can use to optimize your results. But let's remember something. You can buy a membership, right, to a health club. And I'm sure a lot of us have done this. We buy a membership to a health club. And then what happens is we never go. This system will not help you if you leave it to gather cyber dust on the hard drive of your phone or computer. You need to use it, and you need to use it properly, and you need to use it consistently. Just like with exercise, you are going to get almost no results if you do almost nothing. Now, the great thing about doing something with listening is you lie down, you put on stereo headphones or headphones like these, bone conduction headphones. And that's all. You hit play. That's all that's involved. We're not asking you to do a lot here, but you have to do. If you're not willing to commit to yourself, you can't expect the product to help you if you're not going to use it. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. Feel free to ask more. Other people in the audience would like to ask something, feel free as well. So I think I have 5 bits of evidence. I'll go through them, the other 2 quickly. A small group of Alzheimer's patients showed temporary improvements in thinking skills and memory after sitting in a medical grade chair that pulsated at a special frequency of vibration, Toronto researchers have found. The idea behind the experimental treatment, called rhythmic sensory stimulation, is to boost declining brainwave activity. Studies dating back to the 1990s have shown that an internal brain rhythm of 40 hertz keeps coming back over and over and over again, is a fundamental frequency in a healthy brain, meaning people who are healthy and cognitively aware tend to have a strong rhythm of 40 hertz. That's 40 times on and off per second. Alzheimer's patients have lower levels of this gamma wave activity compared to healthy people the same age. That means, and my theory is, that if that's the case, maybe we can inspire the brain to get to that state more often. If we can get the brain to get to that state more often, then it makes sense that the cognitive levels of impairment should go down. That is the important thing to remember here. A lot of the evidence is showing that 40 hertz is a magic frequency for a healthy human brain. Because of the frequency following response, pretty much every brain can be made to follow a frequency. If we can get the brain to follow that 40 hertz frequency, and achieve that state more often, it makes sense based on the current research that we may be able to improve cognition. We may be able to do all kinds of things that might right now be considered magic, but they're really not magic. Artificially getting activity in certain parts of the brain to sync up can provide small mental boosts when completing tasks, recovering from mistakes, according to new research. Now, in their research, they say that this technique could eventually be used as a safe and simple way to perk up the brain and do other things. Again, I believe in this, and I have seen the differences personally and in many of my clients. It can't hurt you. It might help you. What do we have to lose? Nothing. So again, I want to point out to you that I'm happy to share my sources for these studies and information, just so you don't think I'm making stuff up. The links to the scientific evidence are here in the PowerPoint. Again, if you want this PowerPoint, and if you want these links, all you have to do is email me at themaury@gmail.com. And again, I'm going to put the note in the chat just in case someone has dropped off and come back in. All you do is send me an email, say, hey, Maury. I mean, you can ask me any question you want, really, about this. But more importantly, say, Maury, send me the PowerPoint, please. And I will do that at my first opportunity. Okay, something weird has happened here. All right, there we go. So I'm going to take a little time now, and this is fast. I'm actually going quickly, believe it or not. In the past, these talks have taken 2 hours. I'm trying to cut that down. My problem, my benefit, is that I want to give you as much information as possible. My problem is that by giving you all this information, I'm taking up a lot of your time. And I do appreciate your sticking with me through this. So first, let's talk about the basic edition of RevitaMind. There are 6 tracks in that edition. Okay, this is the edition that Dr. Dale Bredesen discovered when he was developing his recode process, the one that he wrote about in his book, The End of Alzheimer's. So neural agility is designed with a unique set of frequencies to support neural pathway growth, memory, cognitive function, and mental endurance. This is a 30-minute recording. You listen to it with your headphones or bone conduction headphones, because remember, everything is vibration. So as long as you're getting the vibratory effect, you're getting a good deal. Mind Revitalizer is designed with a unique set of frequencies, again, to support energy, vitality, and reinforce your commitment to well-being. A lot of people get benefits and then they stop listening, they stop working. I don't know why that happens. Maybe they feel like they're better now, they don't need it anymore. Remember, this is like exercise. You need to keep doing it in order to continue and benefit. So please remember that. Health Triplex and Happiness Triplex. For those of you that know my work called Triliminals, that's what a triplex is. When I originally designed these for these systems, RevitaMind and RevitaMind Ultra, I wanted to differentiate them a little bit. So I adjusted their name to triplex as opposed to triliminal. But they are essentially triliminals. These are not triliminals that are available in the triliminal membership or in any other system. They're only available in the RevitaMind and RevitaMind Ultra system. They provide additional support to people with recurring health issues. It's a proprietary triliminal audio track that contains unique affirmations operating on 3 levels within the brain and a background layer of brainwave entrainment to help reprogram what I call the negative reflexive thought process. So in a triliminal and a triplex, for those of you that don't know, you hear that shh sound that I was telling you about, the one that's designed to block out external distraction, but also to hyperactivate certain regions of the brain. Then you also hear the ba 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 ba, which is the brainwave entrainment track. That particular frequency is designed to elicit a response in the brain called LTP, which stands for long-term potentiation, or the brain's ability to create memory and neural pathways. Then you hear me speaking to you in the right ear with specialized information and coding for in the left ear for the right brain, in the right ear for the left brain, because that's how perception works. Information on one side goes to the other. That's how it works. But you're also going to hear me talking a third time in the middle for both hemispheres. And often I'll talk over myself. It's a ton of stimulation, and it's designed to help the brain reorganize itself to a higher level, basically so it can handle more, so it can recover faster and better and easier. You also get the energy boost. This track can be used whenever you need a quick pick-me-up, and it's a shorter recording, and it's designed to elicit an energetic response in your body and in your mind, kind of like a wake-up call. And then tranquility. This track is designed to support those people who suffer from anxiety-related issues by guiding the brainwaves down to a specific frequency within the alpha range known to calm the mind and effectively reduce anxiety. So that is what the RevitaMind Basic Edition is, and that's what it's about. Again, I'm noticing I don't see any questions or comments. Am I doing a really amazing job and you just don't have any questions? Or if you're waiting for the Q&A, because I will open up a Q&A if there are any at the end, you can certainly wait for that too. But again, I just want you to know that I'm not going to make you wait. If you do put in your information, like your question or comment, then feel free to do so now if you want to know right now. So let's talk about the RevitaMind Ultra Edition while I wait and see if there's any questions or comments. You get all the tracks included in the Basic Edition, as well as, oh, let's see here. You are, and not only now. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so here's the tracks you get in addition to the Basic Edition tracks. And this is all newer information that I was able to update the original RevitaMind with. So please understand the original RevitaMind is incredibly great. I really believe in it. RevitaMind Ultra is more up to date though. So you get all the tracks that you get in the Basic Edition, as well as the sensory motor rhythm. So this is one of the two frequencies that I was telling you about. So we already discussed how gamma tends to be missing or not as strong in people with cognitive issues. Well, it turns out that the sensory motor rhythm, which is a kind of like a low beta frequency, also might be suspected as missing in people who exhibit cognitive decline. So the idea, again, just like with the gamma, is that if we can retrain the brain to produce this frequency through brainwave entrainment, the monkey see, monkey do reaction, frequency following response, then we may help to alleviate some of the associated issues that come from the lack of that frequency. The gamma entrainer. This again is, we've talked about gamma a lot. This is the second of the two frequencies that is suspected as missing or not being efficient in people who exhibit cognitive decline. Once again, the idea is if we can retrain the brain or at least get it to follow the frequency via the monkey see, monkey do response, then we may be able to help alleviate some of the associated issues of lacking that frequency. There's also the cognition bass tone. Now, this is a 60-minute recording that is at 40 hertz, but it's not a reverberating, it's not a pulsed wave. It is a solid wave of 40 hertz. The idea is not to listen to it like this with the headphones. Although you can, and many people find it very relaxing, but the idea is to listen to it like this. So you can kind of see what the headphones are doing. The idea is that by exposing yourself to the 40 hertz bass frequency, it causes a resonant effect in the brain. That's the idea. Now, I have no evidence for this. I want to be very clear and very transparent. However, in light of me suggesting gamma wave activity to help with cognitive issues all those years ago, and no one listening to me and no one giving a shit, excuse my language, and then finding out now that there's all this research coming out, I am not waiting another 20 years for somebody else to do research because they have $10 million and they can afford to do it to back me up. This cannot hurt you, and it might help you a lot. And that's why it's there. So this is cutting edge, absolutely cutting edge. Okay, I can't see what you are describing. Do I need to adjust my screen? Were you able to see it before? And if not, it should be on your screen. You may have brought a window up in front of the screen. Now you can. I'm glad it worked out. Terrific. So anyway, those are the three additional areas that you get in the ultra. However, we've been talking a little bit about visual stimulation as well. So I've included something called the cortical cleaner. Remember, we've discussed how the gamma frequency might be helpful in clearing out the beta amyloid protein that gets in the way of the electric impulses that create our brainwaves activity. So I've created an online viewer that stimulates us into that frequency visually. So the cortical cleaner is based on cutting-edge research showing that there may be a non-invasive way to help clear the amyloid protein that might be a major contributor to memory and other cognitive detriments, things that are common to Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline in general. You'll receive a special link to this webpage that includes a unique and powerful way for you to possibly gain benefit from this new and exciting research. So it looks like there's another question here. Can you show the proper way to use again? That's what I didn't see. Okay, I don't understand the proper way to use. Oh, okay, sorry. Basically, you use bone conduction headphones or ordinary headphones, okay? And for the normal programs, you put them on, you lie down, you hit play, you adjust the volume, you close your eyes. You can even fall asleep. It makes no difference at all. Now, for the gamma tone, bass tone, you can put it on and hear it here. It's a nice low tone, and you'll hear it, and many people find it soothing. But it can also be done, say, when you're watching TV or reading. You can literally put on your headphones like this. You can literally put them in your hand like this. The vibratory effect is what we're going for. Now, primarily, I would do it on my head. I have new technology I'm designing, believe it or not, for tactile stimulation that might prove helpful as well. But that isn't ready for prime time yet. So I would use the headphones or the bone conduction headphones kind of like this. Or if you like the tone, you can even do it like this, or you can do it like this. The idea is to have it on your cranium, on your skull at some point, so that it allows the vibratory frequency to have its subtle effect. And the entrainment effect will happen as a result of the vibration of the skin and the skull, and then the brain tissue that's touching, the fluid between the blood-brain barrier. All this stuff happens together. Okay, let's see here. Left and right side unimportant. Okay, so basically the left and right side, there are no dual brainwave frequency stimulation patterns in this system, so it doesn't really matter left and right side, but it's a good habit to get into. Keep the left on the left and the right on the right. When you're using the bass tone, it makes no difference whatsoever. Absolutely no difference whatsoever. And as far as this is just for gamma, again, the headphone like this, yes, just for the gamma bass tone, not for the entrainer. The entrainer is like this. Now, I have a question also. Are earbuds okay? Not really. Oh, you're welcome. Earbuds actually aren't okay because I mentioned to you how we don't really hear. It's all based on vibration, right? If you put your hand on your computer where the speakers are, you'll feel vibration when you hear me talking. Your brain interprets vibration. And that's why everyone who's here today might be listening. But if you could record it how you're hearing it, again, not on your phone, but how you hear it, my voice will sound different in every single recording. And that denotes the differences in how our brains process the vibration. That's what's important. Earbuds have such a little itty bitty pad that vibrates that the potential, the energy that is expelled doesn't really allow for proper entrainment. Now, you'll hear it, your brain will still translate it, and it'll sound the same, but it doesn't have the same effect because it's not your perception of sound that creates the entrainment. It is the actual vibratory power or amplitude that creates the difference. So I would not use earbuds, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. These particular bone conduction headphones that work fantastically well, I'm a Canadian, they cost me $18. I've seen Americans buy them for $12. Bone conduction headphones, for the purposes of brainwave entrainment, you do not need to spend an arm and a leg. Okay. For regular headphones, these headphones cost me 10 bucks. You do not need to spend a ton of money. One of the reasons why I design systems the way I do is because I want them to be affordable. I want people to be able to use them. Something else I want to point out just before I continue is that you will never get used to these. There's no best before date. It's not like supplements that you take and you have to keep buying them or they expire on you. So every month you have to buy another $100 bottle and another $100 bottle and another $100 bottle. Also, you don't get used to them. So there's recordings I use that I've been using for 30 plus years, and they still have the same powerful effects that they had when I first designed them. There's a lot of unique features to this kind of technology, especially when it's done properly. So that's the cortical cleaner and some other information. I thought I'd share with you some comments from some current clients. I never knew that something that sounds like a lawnmower or a helicopter could do so much for me. After listening to the recordings for just a few days, I've noticed my focus and concentration is much better, like my brain has been defragged. Do we remember that word, defragged, back in the old days when we used to defrag our hard drives? I love it. I feel like I've had an intense power nap after each short session. I require less sleep and get more sound sleep than usual, and I don't wake up groggy. I have more energy to get things done. I'm not chronically irritated anymore, and I feel much better in general. CJ Hendrick. Your programs have done wonders for me. 20 years ago, I had Guillain-Barré syndrome that left me with a very cluttered mind. I was not able to put my thoughts together hardly at all. I lost virtually all of the memory prior to the disease. I was also left with some nerve damage in other parts of my body. Now, after 2 months of using your programs, I not only have very clear thought processes, but I now have and retain my memories back to when I was a small child. Maury, I can't tell you how grateful I am to you and your work. To all that read this testimonial, or in this case, hear it, I would like to offer an opinion, not medical, of course. After using these programs, any person can get great value out of the system. But if your mind seems confused, or if you have any type of dementia, I would seriously suggest the system to help. Ross Joyner. I ordered this set of recordings 2 years ago this month. They have been well worth the money. We have listened to them almost every day since. Before we started using the system, my husband, who was 72 at the time, was hesitating to find the right word when talking. Since then, his mind has become quicker. He doesn't hesitate as much as he did to find the right words. As he is shy, he gets nervous when talking to others, and it isn't as apparent to them as it is to me. My learning ability has also accelerated. I learn much faster, and I read and comprehend much quicker. Yeah, this isn't just for elderly people. This is for any of us. Our outlook on life and way of looking at things has changed so much these last 2 years. I don't know what kind of life we would have had without Maury. Sorry, I get a little touched sometimes when I read these things. I'm glad I found him and I didn't have to find out. Marilyn. I'm 61 years old and wasn't sure that it would work for me, but after just 2 weeks of using it, and then not every day, but regularly, I have seen improvement in my memory and concentration. I get things done more quickly and easily at work. Many of my cravings for food have lessened or disappeared, and my spending habits have improved. And the big bonus is I feel great. I feel calm, peaceful, and content, no matter what the outside circumstances of life. Peg B. I'll just read this other one, and if there's more, you guys can ask for the testimony, or sorry, you can ask for the PowerPoint, and I'll send it to you. I purchased these programs about 3 months ago, and I've been using them consistently. I'm 61 years young, and in the past had some dementia problems because of illness. I had lost all my long-term memory. To say the least, it was just horrible. I want to thank you for these programs as I have regained my long-term memory, along with many other benefits like sleeping without sleeping pills, a sense of calmness, and just a better attitude of life in general. Thanks so much. Okay, and then we have more. Okay, I wanted to point out also that some time ago, and this is kind of weird, I was asked by a client, Maury, have you ever thought of creating your work in 432 hertz base frequency? And to be honest, I've examined the solfeggio, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, frequencies before, of which 432 hertz is one of them. And I really didn't find any benefit to them. I thought they were kind of a crock, to be quite honest with you. But then the next day, someone else contacted me and asked me the same question. And then over the next week or so, a whole bunch of people, probably 6 or 7 people overall, all asked me essentially the same question. At which point I decided, maybe I'm a little too fast in saying no to this. The universe and a whole bunch of my clients are saying yes, and maybe I should look into this. So I did a little research, and the end result is all the brainwave entrainment tracks in both RevitaMind Basic and Ultra have been tuned to the new/old base frequency that seems to be able to result in a more natural sound, which might reveal numerous advantages over the traditional recordings of any kind. So I can't hear a difference when I listen to one or the other, but I feel a difference. And it turns out a lot of my clients do too. So there are those who advocate that a simple change of tuning music from the 440 hertz, which is the standard now since at least 1939, to 432 hertz, which was the standard previous, can result in a type of sound which may react with the mind and body in a more natural and beneficial manner. Some feel it might help to make you happier, healthier, and more peaceful. It seems, okay, so here we go. So that's the 432. So you get that, that's a bonus. I don't charge extra for it. If people want the original version, I don't even give it to them anymore. So there you go. So for the first 10 customers today, I'm including a $97 value called the Sleep Trainer. It seems to be a little known fact that your quality of sleep is actually quite important when it comes to how you experience your life and your daytime. A lot of people don't realize that. They think they wake up and the day is the day and the night is the night. They're all intricately related. Your sleep quality plays a major role in cognition in general, and it plays a role in clearing the brain of proteins that can literally gum up the works. Sleep is another problem Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients tend to have. They don't have deep, restful sleep. They're missing delta frequencies. Having like specific delta frequencies for long enough periods of time. By retraining the brain how to achieve those again, by getting better sleep, we tend to have a better day as well. And that's what this bonus is designed for. I was asked by a good friend of mine, Dr. Ken Hanzarash. He's a top spinal surgeon, actually, in New Jersey. And he asked me a while ago if I could create a chakra system for him. And I said, Ken, why do you want me to do that? It's a lot of work. And frankly, you can go to YouTube, you can go online. There's like 40, 100,000 billion million. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but there's a few, at least, chakra systems, and a lot of them are for free to help stimulate chakras and energy flow in the body and in the soul and spirit and all that stuff. Well, you know, he said, yeah, I know, Maury, but I want you to do it. And of course I whined and complained, come on, why? And he said, because I know you're not going to do what everybody else does. And that's why I want you to do it. And you know what? He's right. So the frequencies for the chakras that I have created and the methodology is intricate. And the frequencies are not even close to what the standards are, because my research showed that you might get better results with altering and different frequencies. So that's what I did. For those of you that don't know much about chakras, everything in the universe is made of energy. This is an understanding that we all should accept. Something else we should accept is that ideas like miracles, magic, and the like are really nothing more than science that hasn't been explained yet. So to that end, cultures that existed long before ours had an innate knowledge of all living things. And this energy, they call it the life force. They found that there were centers of energy that moved within us all, and they called these chakras. So this chakra tuning system, I could easily sell for $300 by itself, but I'm giving it away to you now. Fast action bonus number 3, Alpha Flight V2, $97 value, again for the first 10 customers only. Alpha Flight is one of the most famous Maury method recordings. The original 20-minute version received tremendous positive feedback and still does by our users and creates unbelievable results. I've even had some people use Alpha Flight and tell me they don't need to buy anything because this does everything they need. So I kind of sabotaged my business a little with Alpha Flight. This is actually a 40-minute extended version of the original Alpha Flight, and it can work to help increase your clarity, sense of well-being, improve your memory, and more. For the first 20 people, we're including a short recording called the Quick Cleaning. It's designed with all this new research I was telling you about with the gamma frequency that shows promising results in studies that a specific frequency may help in reducing the amyloid protein in the brain that is believed to be a contributing factor in Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline in general. We're also including another $97 value for the first 20 people, the fourth harmonic Schumann resonance. Now, there's a special healing blanket that some of you may have heard of that surrounds the Earth. It's a field of energy that vibrates at extremely low frequencies, and it's called the Schumann resonance. Some research indicates that when test subjects were deprived of these undulating energy waves, the result would be emotional distress and migraine headaches. This is a very natural frequency that the human race literally has evolved under the protection of through its entire state. Okay, through its entire evolutionary process, we have been developing and growing and living under this Schumann resonance frequency. By having it available to us and allowing our brains to achieve a similar frequency or to almost synchronize with the ionosphere of our planet, it helps us to feel very connected. It helps us to feel at one with the universe, so to speak. A lot of people use this for meditation. A lot of people use it just to feel better. Here's another program. I was speaking with Song one day, and he asked me before we released RevitaMind the first time, he said, you know, Maury, can you come up with something that you've never done before and that no one else has ever done and that we can give away as a freebie? And the funny thing is, I told him I had no idea, right, what I was going to do or what would happen. So I basically told him, sure, Song, no problem. And we were having a meeting, product development meeting. I said, give me a few days to give it some thought. You take a few days too. We'll have another meeting. And then we will discuss the architecture of what this is going to look like. And he said, sure. And as soon as he said, sure, no problem, let's move on, I said, wait a minute. And he said, what? I said, I already know what we're going to do. You don't have to think about anything. Quantum programming popped into my head, literally completely popped into my head. I had to pause and write it all down. So this is $197 value. It's available for the first 20 customers only. I was going to sell it, but Song said, nope, the motivation was not to sell a product, not to create a product to sell, but to give something as a bonus. We have to honor the initial energy and intention. And I felt embarrassed, but I said, you're right, I apologize. So here we go, $197 value, first 20 customers only at no cost. Module 1 is the brain toner. Toning, like hum, ah. If you do that, you'll feel vibration in your head and in your body too. So toning is thought to literally massage the body and the mind from the inside out. Toning in this manner, as the recording starts, and with it playing in the background, can help you to focus and relax. It's known to release negative emotions, reduce stress, and improve your stamina and concentration. Module 2 of quantum programming, the TPU, or thought process upgrade. This recording and exercise specifically deals with abundance, success, prosperity, self-worth, healing, and love. You set up the thought process upgrade recording, you put on your headphones and press play. Then you begin writing out any 10 of the affirmations in the manual, and you reprogram your mind. Here's an extra special bonus. For all purchasers of the basic or ultra today, makes no difference. But you got to get it today. It's a 60-minute one-on-one coaching session with me. So you can set a coaching session up with me anytime within 90 days of your purchase. I have found over the years that the people who have received the most benefits from my products are often those who have received personal help from me on how to use the system, and even if they want a little coaching on circumstances unique to their own lives. I'm here for you. I normally charge $1,000 an hour. And part of the reason is I'm so busy, I don't really have the time. But for anyone who purchases and who wants to take advantage of this, I will make the time. I will share my calendar link and you will be able to set up the time. So just to reiterate, the RevitaMind Web Special Basic System, you get neural agility, you get the Mind Revitalizer, Health Triplex, Happiness Triplex, Energy Booster, Tranquility. You get the Sleep Trainer bonus, you get the Chakra Tuning System, you get the Alpha Flight version 2, the Quick Cleaner, the Fourth Harmonic Schumann Resonance, and Quantum Programming. That's a total value, if you were to get all of this separately, of over $1,100. One-time payment, $197. That's it. For the Ultra system, the special we're giving today is you get everything in the RevitaMind Basic System, including all of the limited quantity bonuses that you qualify for. And you also get exclusive access to the sensory motor rhythm, the SMR, the Gamma In Trainer, the cognition bass tone. Remember, that's the one you can wear like this. And the special audio visual component, the cortical cleaner. That's a total value of over $1,600. And that's a one-time payment of only $297. I want to thank you all again for joining me for the RevitaMind Change the Way You Think About Cognitive Decline seminar and webinar. And now I'm going to open it up for a Q&A for those of you who want to make comments, questions, or concerns and didn't do it during my talk. For those of you who want to take advantage of the offer, the link, oh, I just screwed everything up. Give me a second. Let's go back here and here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to put, again, it happened. How terrible am I? There we go. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now for everyone who wants to know. And then just before I take any new questions, by the way, I have someone who just commented, they love the cortical cleaner. Well, it loves you too. So there you go. So I'm going to put the link to purchase right now for those of you who want to go to the website and check it out. RevitaMind.com/webinar offer / and let me just copy that so I can put it in a couple of times. Okay, there is the link. All I have to do is click that and it'll open up a browser window. You'll be able to see everything. Now, you may remember from the email that we offered you a freebie. I was asked years ago by a doctor, another surgeon in the United States. He said, Maury, I have so many patients who are terrified before their surgery, and then they have a hard time recovering afterwards because they're just too nervous and they're too upset and they can't center. So I was asked, can you create something that might be helpful to them? Well, if you go to the top of that page, if you click on that page that I just stuck in the chat, and I'll stick it in again in case anyone new is there, https://www.revitamind.com/webinar offer. You'll see at the very top of the screen, there is a free recording offer called Stability, Serenity, and Well-Being. Now, this is a very unique program or recording in that it is the first of its kind in the world. It actually gets you to 3 different states during the process. It gives you a brainwave frequency specially designed to give you the feeling of stability. The secondary section leads you to a different brainwave pattern. And this pattern leads you to a feeling of serenity. And finally, it ends with a special brainwave frequency to help you feel better, to give you a sense of well-being. This is a free recording. This is probably worth $97 by itself, maybe even more. But you get it free. So click on the link in the chat, write it down from the PowerPoint, and get yourself RevitaMind or RevitaMind Ultra, and at the very least, get stability, serenity, and well-being. So I managed to cut half an hour off of the presentation. I'm very happy with myself. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from anybody? Please feel free to type your question, comment, or concern in the chat. I will give you, how about a countdown from 10? Nice melodic, nice hypnotic countdown from 10. If it isn't enough time, please click to have it send whatever part of the question you have so that I know there are questions and or comments that people have or would like to ask. So let's kind of go through a little mini meditation, shall we? 10. I hope you all enjoyed the RevitaMind Change the Way You Think About Cognitive Decline webinar. I hope you have a different understanding of your brain, of your mind, and how they coexist with each other to create the world that you create. I do see a question. I'm going to go through the full 10 seconds or 10 countdown, just so we give everyone an opportunity to get their questions and comments in. 9. What can I say? I feel your energy every time I do these webinars, and I'm grateful to you all for being here. And even for those of you listening or watching as a recording later on. 8. It'd be interesting if you could let me know if you feel any different after learning what you've learned today. Do you feel any different? Do you feel expanded? Do you feel confused? Feedback is always appreciated. 7. A lucky number for many. For me, it's just another word that I choose to give peaceful meaning to. 6. I would hope that you spend the rest of your day, much as you spent this time with me now, with your eyes and ears open to learning experiences, to wisdom, and to thought. 5. I want to thank you all for being here, because your energy makes my work and my energy worthwhile. You help to give me meaning, and I appreciate you for that. 4. We're nearing the end of my countdown now, so type away. I want to get all of your questions and comments, and I want to give them honor by answering them to the best of my ability. 3. Again, I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, at least as much as I've enjoyed giving it to you. 2. Remember that everything I have said is just my current understanding. If you're inspired by any of it, I encourage you to rethink it, reinterpret it, and reimagine it in your own way so that you can get the fullest benefit, because ultimately you are your own guru, not me. 1. Thank you again for your time, and let's get to your questions. Okay, so let's see here. We had the comment before about I love the cortical cleaner. Okay, here we go. Maury, though I'm very interested in purchasing the new RevitaMind Ultra system and cortical cleaner, etc., I'm currently involuntary unemployed and will have to place an order later on this month once I receive some money. I'll keep you posted. Thanks again for the lecture. Incidentally, I intend to text this lecture to a friend who is a neurofeedback practitioner. Well, that's very thoughtful of you and very kind. Do me a favor. I want to make sure that you get the same deal. So either email me at, and we're going to put the offer in again, but you'll see my email address, themaurimethod@gmail.com. Email me and ask me for the PowerPoint. You may want to send that to your friend as well. And also refer to this webinar so that you get the same deals and the same bonuses. And as a matter of fact, I want to make sure that you're all like that. So if you're in a situation where today is just not the right day for you, feel free to refer back to this webinar to get the same offer and the same deal. Okay, It looks like there's only a couple of more comments, so feel free to leave more if you do. Does it affect tinnitus? So tinnitus is kind of a unique situation because most doctors will readily admit they really don't know what causes it. It's also possible that it might have multiple different causes depending on circumstances. So the background frequency, the masking frequencies that I created might help you to mask it and not have to deal with it. If your tinnitus is directly the responsibility of things like stress or anxiety, then it's possible that it could have an effect. But please understand, I'm a scientist, I'm not a doctor. And even if I was a doctor, I'm not examining you. So I can't really make, medical diagnosis or even prognosis. All I can do is say, look, that is a great question. Does it affect tinnitus? Great question. Try it and you let me know. You're asking the right question. You're asking it to the wrong person. You need to ask it to yourself. Okay, we have another comment here. I hope that helps. Another comment here. I'm glad I listened again. I'm motivated to be more consistent in practice and check out the new gift. Definitely do that. Also, for those of you that are interested, I have a protocol. Just give me a second here. I have a protocol called the Universal Listening Protocol. So if you want to ask for that in an email, you can do that too. So let me just write it in here. Universal Listening Protocol. Okay, so you can send me an email to themaury@gmail.com. You can see it on the screen there, and ask for the Universal Listening Protocol. That will help you. I give a lot. You can see here especially with the bonuses, there's a lot of recordings. It can be overwhelming. But the Universal Listening Protocol explains an easy method to listen and get all the benefits. And it even gives you a real world example as to why this protocol works. So feel free to ask for that as well. And I'm more than happy to be there for you. Okay, so let's see. It looks like there's just one more comment. Very informative, cleared up a few things for me. Thanks, Maury. You are very, very welcome. Okay, so it looks like that's it for the questions. I'm going to do a quick 10 countdown. This time, no meditation, no nothing, just a quick countdown. If you're in the middle of writing something down, please submit it immediately, even if it's incomplete, just so I know you're there. I don't want to disconnect you before you have a chance to express yourself. But at the same time, I don't want to make everyone wait around if there's nothing more coming. So, okay. So you've never had negative feedback. I've already enjoyed positive outcome. Okay, so here, well, I'm happy for your experience. Thank you for sharing that. Negative feedback is interesting. With RevitaMind, I've never had anyone ask for a refund that I'm aware of. I mean, it's possible Song's gotten a request here and there. Generally speaking, I have found that across the board, people who get negative feedbacks are usually listening improperly. In other words, maybe too loud, not with the headphones oriented in the right fashion, and not listening consistently. I actually had one person ask for a refund of a different product, and here's their excuse or their reason. To me, it was an excuse. I listened to one recording and it didn't change my life. I want a refund. You can't make everybody happy all the time. What can I tell you? Okay. Could you write what I should ask for again? Okay. If you scroll up in the chat, you should see it all. But I'll tell you what, I'll be a good guy and I'll put it in for you again anyway. So the Universal Listening Protocol, that's especially for people who have more than one product or even one product, because I have a lot of recordings and it can be overwhelming if you don't have a way of listening. Again, the Universal Listening Protocol, you send me an email, you ask me for the protocol, you can also ask me for the PowerPoint. My pleasure to send both to you. The protocol will explain to you why my suggestions for how to listen will work, and it'll explain what to do. And it's really very easy. It's beyond easy. And you could actually have every product I've ever designed, and so far I have over 23 of them. And you could listen no more than 1, 2, or 3 times a day and get benefits from everything. That is a pretty amazing protocol. I'm very impressed with myself for coming up about it. Okay, so okay, the asking again about the tinnitus protocol. Okay, well, again, with tinnitus, they don't know what causes it. So if your tinnitus is caused by stress or anxiety, there's a possibility, because these recordings are excellent for that, you may get benefits. But remember, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician, and even if I was a doctor, I haven't examined you, so I can't make a diagnosis. And basically what I said in the end was, it's a great question. Does it help with tinnitus? You asked me, so you asked the wrong person. You should try it yourself and see. I do offer a money-back guarantee, by the way. Don't know if I mentioned that or not, but there is a guarantee. I don't want to keep your money if you're not using this. And I really want you to use this. If you use it regularly and consistently, your life will be different. I have a very different life, and I have been listening for decades, and I still listen every day at least once. It makes you more efficient. If you think you don't have enough time in the day, I encourage you to record a few days worth of your time and all the time you waste. Like, literally write down everything you do at the time when you do it, and you'll see you're wasting a lot of time. To spend a half an hour or an hour, even an hour and a half every day, spread out over the span of a 24-hour period, the efficiency, the effectiveness, everything that can happen for you can be so amplified. Whatever you think is possible now, you're just scratching the surface. Open your mind up to possibility, open your mind up, period, and you will be blown away by what you're capable of. Absolutely blown away. Okay, so once again, I'm going to do a quick 10-second countdown. At the end of that, if there's no more comments, we'll close her up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, hit enter if you're typing something. Okay, let's see here. For my neurofeedback person, what should I send? Yeah, just ask me for your neurofeedback practitioner. Just ask me, send me an email and ask me for the PowerPoint, and ask me for the listening protocol, and that's it. You probably send them only the PowerPoint, and if they want to get in touch with me, they're more than welcome to, and that would be sufficient. Okay, I don't see anything else, so I'm going to end things now. I just want to thank you all for being here. You may notice I have tons of energy, and this has been going on for an hour and 40 minutes. And I have more energy now than when I started. And I believe that's because of all of you. And I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for being open to learning, open to understanding, and open to making a difference in the life of you and the life of those you love. Feel free to contact me anytime you want, okay? At the email address or my phone number. I'm going to put everything back into the chat again. Just give me half a second to copy. Copy. Okay, I'm going to put everything in the chat again. And I encourage you, for those of you who don't know how to save the chat, if you look where you type your comments, you're going to see a bunch of icons and then 3 dots. If you click the 3 dots, you'll have an option to save the chat. As soon as you save the chat, click Show in Folder, and it'll open up the folder where it saved the chat. You'll see all the information. You'll see my phone number. You'll see everything you need, okay? So feel free to click those 3 dots now, save the chat. And I can't thank you enough for being here and for sharing your energy with me. Hopefully you have a better understanding of your life, the universe, and everything, and it will help you to help yourself and to help others around you. Until next time, I'm Maury Zelkovich, and I'm here for you. Be well, be happy. And remember, the link to purchase will be in the chat as well. Just before I sign off, I will put it there just to make things easy for you. Okay, and there you go. So again, be happy, be well, be yourself, be authentic. And I'm here for you. I truly am. I know I put that at the bottom of my email. I know I say that at the end of everything, but people are consistently blown away that I am truly there for you. Be happy. Be everything you're supposed to be. Happy feels good for a reason, because you're supposed to be happy. Remember that. I'm here for you all, everybody. Be well, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.